How's it going?
To end.
How's it going?
To end.
How's it going?
To end. How's it going? To end.
How is it going to end?
How's it going to end?
How's it going to end?
How's it going to end? How is it? How's it going to end?
I was wondering that myself.
I feel you, and I mean, to Simon's credit, because he's the creative I don't know, guy behind the scenes. I mean, he's an audio producer himself, but he also produces like his own mixtapes and that sort of thing. So for him, it was like his favorite part of the job so far, I feel like. So it's like just wrong with it. But thank you, and thanks for all the support. I feel like we've done 2 episodes so far, but we've talked about you in both episodes. I feel like the first one was about like during the community spotlight, and the second one we're like, we need to get you on the podcast to talk about the Prestige, essentially, at some point when we do
Oh,
the
really?
final.
I mean, I'm absolutely, I'd be down.
Yeah, because you remember how Ben was like, I feel like that's
It is the
Nolan.
ultimate Nolan movie. It's the best Nolan movie.
There you go. And obviously we got, I don't want to say attacked, but
Of course, yeah, of course. When
There
it's
you
like
go.
not, it's like saying Pulp Fiction isn't Tarantino's best. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to talk about Interstellar.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting, the feedback we got for that one was interesting, but we stand by it. I don't think it's my favorite, but I do think it doesn't get the credit it deserves, for sure.
Yeah. It's like Tarantino's Jackie Brown, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not gonna do my intro. I feel like we could have just started it. I'm gonna just include all this
Yeah, for
in the
sure.
opening. I have with me Sophie from That Final Scene. What's going on?
Hi everyone. I am so excited to join you for the 3rd time now,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I mean, as I said before we started recording, quote unquote, it's been an interesting period for me right now, because I just launched That Final Scene podcast. It's been in the works for, I want to say, years, but it's something that you and I talked about in terms of like, when you want to do something and then there's something that holds you back and you kind of beat yourself over it. At least I did, because I was like, why can't you just do it? Like, I had so many people on the page asking me to do it, and then I had a lot of friends, but something didn't feel quite right. But when I found the right team, everything just clicked, and I was like, I feel confident I can do this. Screw my social anxiety. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not the radio. Like, you can still edit it out, which is the magic of the podcast in a way. So that's been a journey for me, because I've been learning so much in terms of how do you even start, right? Starting from the basics and just having like a gazillion of dumb questions. But yeah, the response has been phenomenal so far. We do know, and I think that's something that you're having to deal with this as well, in terms of, because we usually, and you as well, focus on one film, right? At every single episode. You are not the super massive, like, broad appeal podcast, and you're never going to be that, and you need to make your peace with that. And that's something that we're having in our early discussions, because ultimately we do want to make sure we dive deep into specific topics, as opposed to like do like a short news section, or like Avatar 2, which is something that
I think you guys have it. I think you guys have it structured really, really well, which is something that comes from having a good team. I think that if you have one or more people with you that know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, and also like have like there's nothing more interesting, even if it's uninteresting, than having a conversation with people. And I think that's something definitely to benefit from. And then you have the podcast structured around like covering recent news, covering a question that you put out to your followers, and then ultimately circling around the film of the week. I think that's it's like a class almost.
What's been your, and maybe I'm putting you on the spot here, but because you've been doing this for a while, what's been your biggest lesson so far when it comes to running a podcast, or what's been your biggest takeaway, or what's the one thing that surprised you now that you've been doing this for a while?
Probably that it doesn't matter the kind of equipment you have. I think part of me was like, just get the expensive mic and the expensive recorder and the expensive, mic stand, and then there you go. And then you got the podcast, and then you're like, oh, I have to like entertain. I have to be like, with all the things in the world that fucking exist when it comes to entertainment, I have to try and pull something out and maintain the few people sticking around's attention, So I think that's probably it. And then after that, it would be like, luckily being able to talk with other people, you know what I mean? And then find out like, oh yeah, I did like the first 30 episodes, or no, the first 20 something episodes. Because I took a huge break in between this year and last year. Just myself talking, which is not the best idea when you're nobody and nobody really wants to, like, there's no incentive to hear what you have to say. So getting the opportunity to talk with a bunch of people is just like, has been a huge commitment boost.
How do you work around, how do you approach programming given that you have so many guests on the show?
What do you mean?
So for example, how far in advance do you program your episodes around? Because like, for example, you reached out to me a week or a couple of weeks ago to do this, and I was like, yeah, sure. Because I'm not like, I have plenty of free time, but I'm like, but you also had quite a few. I mean, you've had talent on the show multiple times, so I'm assuming you have to work around their schedules in a way. Has this been challenging?
What's the most challenging? Honestly, like truthfully, every episode I've done until maybe the last 7 weeks has been put up, like has been recorded. And like, if I talk to someone, interviewed the day before I put it up, or like, I'll do it the day before, I'll spend the entire night just, cutting it together, rendering it. And then I make sure that I put it in YouTube and my other podcast arena before I have to do any of it. Cause I don't want the next day for me to have to like wait 3 hours for it to render and then put it up at like 2 p.m. You know what I mean? So, but honestly, these last 7 weeks, or about where I've like done the episode with someone on Monday, and I put it up on a Friday, and I'm like, oh God, why didn't you just do that? Why didn't you, like, why would you make yourself do it the night before? And that's just another useless thing that you have to think about before you actually put it up. But yeah, no, it's been much more now, and especially with with people in the actual industry. Cause I mean, I've only had 2 people tell me to email like an agent or something. Everyone else, it's been strictly through Instagram, which I think is like super fucking privileged to be able to go to someone and be like, hey, I do a podcast, like to DM someone, and be like, hey, do you want to do this? And sometimes they're like, yeah, totally. And sometimes they're like, you have to, I honestly, actually, like out of like maybe 10 people, 8 have been like, yeah, let's do it. And then the other 2 were like, yeah, I mean, we have to check for my schedule. And I'm like, hey, I literally whenever I have all the free time whenever it works around that schedule.
That's incredible. And it speaks to the power of Instagram in a way, even though I don't want to give them too much credit, but that kind of democratization of being able to just reach out to whoever and getting those interviews in is just amazing.
Instagram and Zoom, like, dude, I mean, I think it's coming up on a year now. It's coming up on a year. I spoke with Samantha, the first person I spoke to, Samantha Wynn, actress and stunt performer Samantha Wynn, after the release of Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead last year. And that was the one where I was like, oh, I can use Zoom to, like, you're not going to get to talk to everybody you want to talk to, but you're going to get to talk to other people. And then, eventually you talk to like a composer, a cinematographer, a director. And I'm like, holy shit. Like it's such a massive like opportunity that you're kind of screwing yourself over if you don't try it. Try to use it when you can.
Who would be your dream guest? Dream guest, if you could pick one.
I don't know. That's what's funny. So the massive talent Instagram, the new Nicolas Cage movie. They followed me, but like a month before the movie came out, they followed me, and I was like you don't know if it's like a human running that account or if it's like a algorithm rigged to post when like at a certain time on a certain day. So I messaged it and I said, I don't know if this is like an actual human or anything, but if there is someone with like a consciousness behind the phone reading this, I have a podcast. I've spoken to a couple directors. I like, that's like the huge weight now, is I'm able to in the pitch to have someone come on. I'm like, well, I've spoken to this guy, that guy, you know, and it helps a bunch. And in my DM, I was like, if there's any possible way I can talk to the director of the movie, or, you know, throwing straws, Nicolas Cage or Pedro Pascal, that'd be great. And then I got a message back from someone being like, I don't know about those last two, but I can check with the director. And then they never responded. Which I get. I mean, you know, I guess it was a month before the movie came out. So I imagine around the time of the movie, it's like, yeah, no, we're not going to have time to put an ounce of effort towards something like, you know, that low wrong. But no, I get it, you know.
And you confirmed there was someone, there was a human running the account.
It wasn't just like a programmed bot to be like, you know, respond with stop to no longer, you know, I mean, like, but you know, that was good. And then just literally last week, Daniel Kwan, one of the two Daniels of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I've been tagging him almost every day in my I've been eye bombing New York City. I've been going around popping eyes around on everything, and he saw them. And every time I post it, I can see that he sees them, but he never opens it up in the DM, because when you tag someone, it opens up in the DM. And I was like, I'm a huge fan. I adored the film. If you guys have any like a half hour to spare to ever talk, you or Mr. Other Daniel, to talk about the movie, that would be greatly appreciated. And he actually responded, and he said that they've been like fried from all the podcasts and interviews that they've done, and like, oh, I hope you understand. I'm like, oh yeah, listen, you responded. That's the most like anybody could have done in that case. And that was like,
I was gonna say, he also announced like a proper social media break, I feel like.
Yeah. It was just at that time when he was announcing the break, and he fully, like, you know, they were stepping back, and like rightfully so. Like, they deserve to be able to go like and take a break, and not, you know, have me be like, what was it like having Michelle Yeoh? You know what I mean? Like, do awesome, like, yeah. But that's the kind of thing where it's like, if I walked into a theater and I saw a movie and I was like, you know, just check out if they're on Instagram. Oh, like that's how it happened with You Won't Be Alone. I talked with the director, didn't have social media. I spoke with the cinematographer, and he was like, oh, I can give you his email. And then I was like, that's like the ultimate layup, is for someone else to be like, yeah, do you want to talk to this other guy? And then but that's like, that'll get me spoiled. If I want to DM someone else and be like, hey, I'm a big fan, do you want to talk on my podcast? They're like, fuck no, leave me alone. And I'm like, oh yeah, I totally understand.
I don't know. I feel like your success rate has been great though so far. I mean, even though you haven't always gotten the interview, you've gotten so many responses, and like you can tell that people are paying attention to what you're doing. But I also get like from their side, and obviously I know we're talking about the film today, but if you look at the trajectory of the film, right, which started as a classic A24 release, which means we're gonna put zero marketing budget behind the film. Oh, yeah. Right, classic A24 strategy, and then you like solely word of mouth, it came to be what it is today. So you can tell how these two went super grassroots, like speaking to all sorts of media from what I've seen. Like they didn't just go to like Vanity Fair and Hollywood Reporter, like they did approach their interview and like marketing strategy from a very different point of view. I felt like, and you could tell that obviously they're different themselves, and they gave access to themselves by, I want to say, from what I've seen, kind of prioritizing less like underrepresented media outlets, which for me was unique.
Well, I think that's what exactly what's so great about that is they're giving the opportunities to the versions of themselves. I think which is very interesting. And then you hear them talk about how like they were offered to direct some of Loki, and which is pretty interesting for them to be like, for Disney to approach you and be like, do you guys want to do a bit of our multiverse, and then to be like, no, we're gonna do our own multiverse, and not only for it's very much like it's literally the underdog story. I mean, I talked with Austin Archer about it. I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, about how like there are people cheering on the fact that Doctor Strange made like Everything Everywhere All at Once's entire run in like their opening weekend, and there are people being like, yeah, let's go fucking Disney, like which is hilarious to be to think like that. So they very much, I think, catered towards like the idea, like if they were in that part of the industry, being like, hey, can we talk to you about your movie? I think like they gave themselves that chance. They gave the people who are, it's, you know, the underdogs, the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And like to go back to, I mean, we could do an episode on Doctor Strange and everything everywhere alone. But for me, ultimately, the win is not like how much money you bring in, because you have to factor in the marketing budgets that are behind those releases. What matters is the fact that to this day, like Everything Everywhere is still up there, while Doctor Strange is dropping like week on week. And I'm not saying that Doctor Strange is a bad film necessarily. No. I mean, it's not the greatest MCU film, but it speaks to the perseverance of like cinema in a way.
I mean, it also speaks towards like the gluttony of a multimedia conglomerate movie making $500 million in one weekend, and then the next weekend it drops 60%. You know what I mean? And then I think for the first 7 weeks of Everything Everywhere All at Once's release, it didn't drop at all. It maintained like number one for 7 straight weeks, and then Doctor Strange comes on, and then it drops. But that's just so, and especially for a movie that had, I mean, I'm telling you, like the only times I ever saw anything about the movie was the trailer, and waiting to go see another movie, and then seeing that and being like, I need to fucking see that movie. And then you tell someone like, I'm going to see that movie made by the guys who did Swiss Army Man, and they're kind of like, what? I don't who that's cool, I guess. Like a lot of people didn't see Swiss Army Man, or a lot of people don't like how fucking strange it is, and it's like, but that's the word, that's like that's how you get something like Everything Everywhere All at Once sticking around for this long, and in very much in a time where it's like, you know, people are still, COVID's rising, people still don't want to go to a movie theater here and there, and the fact that something like this is able to stay in the fight this long is just so, that's what's so successful about it, rather than it being the number one domestic box office release for A24 too.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you can tell that its success, I find it's still quite self-contained in a way, because at least in the UK, like in London where I live, you see there is zero out-of-home marketing material for the film still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So every single person that I know that is not much into films, I mean, they're gonna see a film like once a month tops, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have, I mean, not a single person has heard of the film. Like the only people that have are the people that are active on Twitter or are, you know, going down the Instagram, you know, like Filmstagram rabbit hole, right? They're these kinds of communities still, but it does speak to the power of word of mouth and how similar to podcasts in a way, right? Because like when it comes to podcasts, you don't have like a one key platform that you can get discovered. You get to grow bigger and bigger by literally word of mouth. And this is why like the growth is slower, but perhaps steadier to an extent. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm saying in parallel with what happened to Everything Everywhere. So I don't know, it gives me a lot of hope, I have to say. I started to feel very pessimistic about the state of cinema at the beginning of the year. And that has been the first, like I was a truly first kind of glimpse of hope that I've had for 2022.
And it is only aided by everyone kind of sort of realizing like, oh, hold on a second, this last Marvel movie was just a commercial for the next Marvel movie. And that's been like that 100% is sort of people being like, wait, hold on, why have I been stuck in this trance for the last decade? I've only been looking forward to the next Marvel commercial. That's so strange. And then something as you know, insane as Everything Everywhere comes out, and they're like, oh my God, that's what I've been sort of like shunning away immediately. That's amazing. And it just adds to its steady growth. I want you to tell everyone where they can find your essay on the film, because it is incredibly well written. I've said before, your writing is the only writing I can fucking tolerate on the film sphere of like social media, people talking about movies. Everyone else is so fucking up their own ass about it, but it's really good. So where can people find that?
Oh, thank you. If you go to thatfinalscene.com after under thoughts, that's where my, I want to say, words on cinema are going to live from now on. So yeah, check that out. But you can also go to my Instagram page. I'm linking to that as well. This essay has been a struggle to write, I have to say, because I feel like you and I have had a similar reaction coming out of the film, at least on a first viewing, because I read that you said at some point, I am not the same person after watching that film. And I had a very similar reaction. So I remember coming out of the screening, I had this sort of realization that I've just been part of something very special, something that's almost sacred in a way, but I can't quite process it. I'm not quite sure what is it that, has resonated with me right now. So it took me 2 full weeks to actually be able to put thoughts to paper, and just I had conversation with a couple of people, and what struck me is that with every single one of them, we had very different reactions. And I'm not saying in terms of like whether you like or you don't like the film, I feel like that's a different conversation, but in terms of like the things that resonated with you, like the things that resonated with me in particular are very different to the things that I know my 2 best friends that saw it had like very different reactions, and they were able to pick up other things. So like we can talk about the intergenerational trauma that has taken a lot of the like discourse, and I feel like that kind of, it did make me think for a while, because I do have a complicated relationship with my mom, and she's not an immigrant herself, but I am. So I feel like we're having like, it's almost like it's not just generational at this point, because I've been away from home for 6 years now. It does feel like we have a cultural gap in a way, where she's not able to understand me and I'm not able to see her as well, not just because of our age gap, like there's something else going on there. But ultimately, and as I described in like one of the things that I talk about in the essay, the story that I wanted to tell coming out of that film, and what really changed me, was exploring the concept of nihilism and cynicism. Like, what do we do with that? Because I've read a few pieces on the film, and there was a lot of like, some of the criticism around the film is how it celebrates cynicism and like nihilism, and how like nothing matters, so you might as well be a dickhead.
Yeah.
But one of the arguments I'm trying to make in the essay is that no, they're trying to say the exact opposite. Because nothing matters, your choice matters more.
Yeah.
Because nothing matters, it makes like people take notice when you care, when you're being considerate. Just because nothing else is just, I mean, keep using the word matter because that's what they use, but like that at this point in my life anyway is the key story of that film, and how choosing to be kind, choosing to be compassionate, choosing to take a step back, and understanding like your mom, your dad, your boyfriend, your girlfriend is what makes life worth living and actually sticking around, which is what the family decided to do at the end of the day. So I mean, I talk about a lot of things in that essay, but that was kind of the core of my argument ultimately.
That's the largest punch of the film for me, is being being a depressive sack of shit, and then watching that movie and being like, well, I can no longer tell myself that nothing matters, therefore you must be miserable. You know what I mean? Because the film opens up a lane where it's like nothing matters. So, you know what it reminds me of, which is such a funny pull. The final Night at the Museum movie. Have you ever seen those movies? This is the strangest pull. In the end of that one, I think it's one of Robin Williams' last roles, but he's talking with Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller goes, "I have no idea what I'm going to do tomorrow." And then Robin Williams goes, "How exciting," you know? And there is 100% that idea of like, it's a fucking huge leap. And isn't that crazy? Like that's why I called the episode when I talked about it with Austin Archer, the bright side of nihilism, because there is a sense of, you know, there's a sense of like, hey, you know, yeah, nothing matters, which means that if nothing matters, everything matters. You can find something important in everything. And that's why I walked out of the movie and genuinely like a little upset at myself, being like, fuck, I can't use that as an excuse to like just sit in my misery anymore. Now I have to actually try and apply myself to see really how I feel and stuff like that. But yeah.
But I think when you do, not just you, but like me as well, because it's been a difficult year, man. Like it hasn't been an easy year. Even when you do choose to, I don't know, be miserable or be in pain or decide that you don't want to do something anymore, you don't want to go through something anymore, I feel like realizing that is still a choice. That nihilism, misery, is not a state of mind that you just have to accept. If you want to go down that path, it is a choice you're making, right? And I find some sort of comfort and solace in that, because it tells me that if that's a choice, then that means there is something else out there that I could choose at some point in my life. Not today, because I'm not like, this is not where I'm at right now. But I don't want to be like, things will get better. Maybe they will never get better, but you too, like the universe may choose a time for you that you're ready to be and feel better.
That's what I like most about that, is that it's not delusional. You know, it's not like, hey, look, guys, the sun's rising. You know what I mean? It's very much like when obviously there's spoilers for this movie, but it's been out, and I hope you've seen it. When in the end of the movie, when, you know, Evelyn tells Joy, like, why would I want to be here? You know what I mean? Like, you don't call me anymore. You got a tattoo, even though you know we hate tattoos. You only call us when you need something. So why would I want to be this version of me? I am, and I'm okay with that. That's what I mean when you walk into the movie. I walked into the movie thinking like, well, not exactly. I think a couple days before I posted a TikTok of me painting Danny DeVito, and hold on.
So cool.
Come on, you bastard! Right here.
Iconic.
Yeah, I put that up, and the TikTok was like, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm doing nothing with my life, and then it's like, oh, then I realize nothing matters, and I think that the immediate thought to that is like, oh, well, that's, you know, pretty cynical, and it's like, no, but like, you understand that like that is better than what I was leading with. You know what I mean? Like going into it, I'm like, oh, I'm not really feeling great, and then something else shows up, and I'm like, hey, I feel a little better, and someone's like, hey, you shouldn't feel like that. You should feel like how it was before and be optimistic for no reason. Then you walk into a movie like this and you leave and you're like, no, I 100% embrace the opportunity of this choice, in that, you know, if you truly believe nothing matters, and there are plenty of reasons to believe so, you can decide to manipulate that in a way where it doesn't affect the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It can affect it for the better. Yeah.
To that, one of the things that also stood out to me is how, I mean, we could talk about the actual filmmaking for ages, but I want to talk about the creative use of contrast that filmmakers use throughout the film. So when you talk about nihilism, like everything matters, that kind of polar opposites in a way. And one of the other things that were really interesting to see on the big screen is trying to keep up with the film. Like the pace of the film is just I mean, sometimes it's exhausting, right? It's just like, it's so frantic, it's just everywhere, literally everywhere, and just trying to keep up. But when you look at the end, the answer lies in pausing and in taking like slowing down and just looking around you and just, being a rock, right? Which is like such a fantastic, like, just an incredible use of contrast, because they're not just telling you that, hey, this is the answer, like presence, being in the being in the now. That's not what they're saying. I mean, they're saying to you, but not.
It's not preachy.
Yeah, but they're using actual film, like the filmmaking, craft to put you in a mood in a way, because you are like so intense throughout those 2.5 hours, where in the end, like the end almost comes as a relief.
Yeah.
By just,
when she finally also says, like, the idea of I mean, the first 8 minutes up until it leads to the everything title crawl, it's just constant, and it's going in between Chinese and English, and you're forced to run along with Evelyn and Waymond at that point. So when it comes to the end of the movie, and especially in a scene we've seen that's similar to early on in the movie, when Deirdre goes, "Mrs. Wang, are you paying attention?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, what was that again?" Like, that's the sigh of, like, you don't have to, yeah, of course I'm paying attention. Yeah, I know everything you were talking about just now. You don't have to cover your bases like that if you have this idea that, you don't have to maintain anything. There's this sense of, it's an ultimate fucking freedom to be like, "No, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Repeat yourself." And I think that most people, like in most social situations, there's that whole joke of someone talking to you and you can't hear them, and you're just going like, you know what I mean? And you just accept that, like, I'm never going to know what they're saying. We're never going to truly communicate, because I'm not willing to go for that sixth time of being like, huh? You know what I mean? So that's there's an ultimate freedom in that idea.
Do you find, because again, this is one of the closing arguments of my essay, in terms of how this film almost acts like a prank to today's society, right? Because if you think about how much we are being bombarded, right, in today's world, like, you just, even if you're not like on social, if you're not on the internet, just going outside, like, the world is just insanely hectic right now.
Yeah.
And being able to take a step back and realizing that this wasn't always the way things were. And I'm not trying to romanticize the past.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about the rhythm, in terms of, like, we are being accustomed to living and existing in a way.
Yeah.
Do you find that, to your example, like, not being able to keep up with what's going on around you, or like in a social situation, is perhaps at least an indirect consequence of what's happening and what has happened in our society over the past couple of decades? I would argue because of the internet. But like, and I can speak from my experience, I do find that it's much harder for me to concentrate, because I'm having all of these like incoming messages, like left and right.
Yeah.
I find that I'm having a harder time like picking up a book, like reading an actual essay. Like, it's hard because you're getting all the notifications. People are WhatsApping you or like DMing you, and it's just, it's like, can you just let me be a rock? Just for a second, just let me be a rock, right? Because
absolutely,
this wasn't always the case. I feel like we were much more present.
I love that you brought up Bo Burnham's Inside and Welcome to the Internet in your essay, because it is the crushing tidal wave of, the internet, which has become this, like, you need the internet to participate in society now. And it used to be like, you're on the fucking computer, and I can't talk like I've experienced that experience, but looking around and seeing how much it's become of life, a part of life now, where if you aren't hooked into every type of everything. You're missing out on something. And that's 100% like the idea that you can't center yourself because of the infinite highways that run through your head because of the internet is such a crushing thing. So I think about Joy, her character, the amount of time she probably went and just probably spent like years as a rock. There's something really, really exciting about that, because if you think about how much she's experienced, and I mean, literally her head, the way she tunes in and out like a radio signal in between all of them. And that's just from her point of view. But imagine like actually that idea of infinite in your head, and then you're able to just go and be like, I'm going to focus my consciousness on the fact that nothing is right now. I'm a rock. It's a desolate world. The only thing you hear is wind. And there's something so, and then when she's with Evelyn there, and then Evelyn is trying to like walk towards her, and she's like, no, you're not supposed to do that here. This is not, you're just adding another one on top of the infinite, where it's like, now I have to think about something. You just be a fucking rock, you know? I think that's just so great. And you felt that in the essay.
That was one of my favorite scenes for sure.
Yeah.
And it's in that universe where you finally take away the noise, you finally take away the distractions, that they start to come together, and they start to see each other, and they start to just almost unite in a way, almost in a spiritual way, because they don't have actual bodies, right? You just you can't. Yeah, you can hug her, I guess. To that actually, I do want to ask you a question around, because I mean, I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of thoughts on the filmmaking side of things.
Mm-hmm.
The couple of filmmakers and directors that I've spoken to for that film, they've all been just astonished by the level of filmmaking that has gone in there. What did you think of it? Like, I've only listened to a couple of their interviews, but what did it make you feel coming out of that film as an aspiring filmmaker? What did it leave you with?
They made 1,000 movies to make one movie, which is truly fucking crazy. They made 1,000 different movies and intertwine them in this one long narrative thread. Like, you know, like how the ambition in that, there's something so, you know, powerful about being like, we're going to make this movie around a concept that is just now getting like catching popularity. Not only is it catching popularity, but popularity by the largest multimedia company in the fucking planet. And we're going to do it in an innovative way. And not only are we going to do that, but we're going to fill it with nothing but like pure ambition. Like the fact that they were able to fill in sincere drama and absurdist comedy and romance and horror and have it cohesively tell a story is so strange and so unique. And it's told in the editing of the film. You know, there's a texture to the editing when she breaks through different, when her mind is fracturing, and, you know, Wayman says your mind is a pot, and every time you jump into another universe, you get a crack, and then you have to seal it. And then it's just, there's a texture to it when she goes in and out. And then when she's breaking down and you can see her body is experiencing like biologically what it must feel like to go through something like that kind of toll. And the aesthetically, I mean, the aspect ratio changing alone for almost every world is so special, and it doesn't fucking happen. And when it does happen now, it's nauseating. And they found a way to make it, you know, super cohesive. That's the main thing about it for me is how, you know, there isn't a single fucking tear in this like film's cloth. It's so strong and woven together so well. And I think the ultimate representation of that is that final fight between Joy and Evelyn, where Joy is on the offense and Evan is 100% passive defense, and it's just flickering through them. And the only thing, like, imagine trying to shoot something like that and not have it look as cheap as the budget of what the film was. Have it look good. You know what I mean? Have it look of sincere quality. Yeah, no, the ambition and the charisma of this movie to be able to go, we're going to deliver several experiences to tell this one story is phenomenal. It's the ultimate thing of being like, go out and try it. You know what I mean? We just went and we went for it, and it worked. And you know, you may not have Jamie Lee Curtis to be the ultimate cheerleader for your movie, but it's an experience that is just so fucking special, especially from the point of view of being like, I want to fucking make movies someday, and then to see something like this be as insane as it is, and then be, you know, monetarily successful, is so special.
What other films you've seen that have used multiple aspect ratios? Because the couple of examples that I have in my head, they usually use them or change them when they want to go back in time, like flashbacks. That's the only one that I remember.
Those are at least are with intention. The only one I can think of where they didn't know, where like you can tell that they were just swapping cameras in and out, is and this is a horrible fucking example, actually. I mean, horrible movie, perfect example. One of the most recent Transformers movies, there's a scene where Mark Wahlberg and I forgot the actress's name, and I think Anthony Hopkins are talking, and they're in a library, and it's cutting between like IMAX standard, and then it's so nauseating. It makes no fucking sense. You're doing a conversation. You're not doing a giant set piece, like how Nolan will only use IMAX when he's doing giant, you know, grand scenes. They're having a simple, awful, terribly written conversation, and it's cutting between these like jarring shots. The only one I could think of that's executed as well as Everything Everywhere is in Arrival, her dream sequence. Like, it's purposefully edited so that it's jarring and it makes no sense, and it's a dream world, and that's the dream world. But then when you compare it to I don't even know the kind of word to describe this, like unprofessional fucking Michael Bay just cutting in between these awful shots. Yeah, what does he call it? The Bayos and the Bayhem. That's stupid bullshit. It's so fucking nauseating. And then you see a movie like this, be like, hey, there's a purpose to it. The aspect ratio changed because it turns out they've been watching a version of the movie this whole time, and now we're in the second act of the film. And like, that's so innovative. Like that, the meta idea of like, oh, so they've been watching the movie. Hey, look, the credits went on 2/3 into the movie. Isn't that silly? That's the real directors. That's been done before, but they did it in a way where it's like it's used as a story point. Now Evelyn is in that Evelyn, and she's experiencing talking to that universe as Wayman, and it's all in service of the story. And in so many other versions of that like technique where it's used, it's never, almost ever, used to serve the story.
Speaking of Michael Bay, have you seen Ambulance?
I still haven't. I have not. I've heard surprisingly good things, but I'm not rushing to see Ambulance, honestly, truthfully. I want Jake Gyllenhaal to stop picking this random bullshit and start doing actual, like, he's proven he can crush it. Go back to crushing it. Why are you doing this random shit, Jake Gyllenhaal?
I have a theory. Because I've been following him for a while. I mean, I used to. I feel like I've lost track right now, because you're right, he has made a lot of bad choices. But you know how fairly recently, only a few years ago, he started his own production company called Nine Story. Mm-hmm. So he did Stronger with that. He did that film with Paul Dano and Carey Mulligan. I don't remember. So it's a fairly small production company still. So I feel like he needs the money. I feel like he genuinely, no need, as in like for him.
No, yeah. In terms of like actually wanting to make a
investment. Yeah. And
interesting.
Because he's done Velvet Buzzsaw.
Velvet Buzzsaw, yeah. Well, the funny thing about Velvet Buzzsaw was that it was by the same director of Nightcrawler.
Yes, you're right.
Which is like, there is something to that where it's like, oh, so then are we building a actor-director relationship that's gonna, succeed all expectations? Fucking nope.
The eeriness was there. Like, you could tell, you're right. tell it was from the same director, and
Mhm.
obviously I felt like Jake was really good, but
Mhm.
the script didn't land.
Yeah, no.
No.
That's not at all. That's one of those ones where it's like, maybe if give it a couple passes. And um I like the strangeness of that movie. I like the real world physical horror of art killing you. But I think that it was also a little, give that script a couple more passes, guy. I forgot his name. I know that he's married to, oh God, how do you forget? It's gone. It's gone. I lost the thought. I forgot the actress's name. Sorry. But yeah, no, there's that idea of not many, very few films ever use a filmmaking technique to service the story. Usually, if it's done, it's like, hey, look what we can do now. It's very much like James Cameron with Avatar. Let's be honest. Avatar is Dances with Wolves. It's a pretty basic story. But what's amazing about Avatar is the technological feat. And he uses that to tell this story. And I think that happens very fucking rarely.
Speaking, I have no idea what to expect from the sequel.
I
would say the trailer didn't impress me.
Really? Did you see it in a theater?
No.
I saw it. I saw screenshots of it, and I was like, no, I'm gonna see it tonight. I'm gonna see a movie tonight, and they'll play it beforehand. And in a theater, it was a little. Yeah, I took a second to like go, wow, okay, this is gonna be another, punch in the nose when it comes to technological game changer. But no, I can understand it not being like, hey man, it's been like 12 some years.
Maybe that's it. And maybe this is what going back to Everything Everywhere and just like, having more realistic expectations, because at the end of the day, he's a filmmaker that has rarely disappointed, right? If you think of his filmography, he's just been consistently good. So, but I feel like, to your point, it's because Avatar has been so hyped. Like the sequel has been hyped for, sequels, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've been hyped for so long. I don't know. I expected some sort of new technology that I've never seen in my life. I expected, I don't know, like smell coming out of my laptop. Like, I don't know, insane. I think that was me just like,
give it time. He's probably working on that.
Toning it, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like toning it up. This is why we've been waiting for 12 years, so we can have like a fifth sense.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I definitely get that. What I'm most excited about when it comes to we're totally off the road right now, but when it comes to the Avatar sequels, what I'm so excited for is that they're going to be separate fucking stories. They're not going to be the same characters in the sixth film, which I think is such a major leg up. Like, it makes me think of like the Fantastic Beasts movies still having Newt around, and they're going into their fourth movie, and it's like, guys, shouldn't be here. He was fine for the first one. He shouldn't be here anymore. That's what these movies should have been, is 4 or 5 separate stories. And in the background of those stories, you tell the Dumbledore and Grindelwald battle over time, like a history lesson type thing. And that's the one thing. The story structure of these next Avatar movies is half of what's hyping me up for them. And then the other half is being like, I saw one of the shots in the water on one of those fucking bird fish things, and it looks so it's beyond Uncanny Valley, where it's like Uncanny Valley is something that's real that shouldn't look real to like humans, and then beyond that is like, it's fucking crazy how you're getting something digital to look that real. But did you see Everything Everywhere alone?
No, with a friend, friend from work. She's not big on cinema, so it was it was interesting coming out of the film with her. She felt very lost, not in a bad way, not as in fuck this film, I had no idea what it was about. She was just like, oh my God, I need to let it sit in. I have no idea what I just was. And I could tell she was a bit taken aback.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I feel like that's actually the normal, quote unquote, like typical maybe reaction of your casual moviegoer.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the circle, like the community of people that rave about the film, like you and I, are actually within that, I don't know, cinema, like
Abnormal.
cinephile. Yeah, exactly, like film Twitter.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to pan out as the film goes out, like comes out to more countries, because right now it's actually out in only select few.
Yeah.
And like I've had a lot of my followers on Instagram saying, I can't read your essay just yet because it's not out in my country. Like it's gonna come
Yeah.
out in 5 months or something. Like, okay. So I don't know what to make of that. I get it. I get it. I feel like I love that film because I have trained myself to not just leave the film at the screening door.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
If they don't untangle, solve the film in the room, they kind of let it go. I feel like it's a normal reaction. I'm not like
I think it's the average. Yeah, that's right. I think we're the above normal. The abnormal are the people that walk out and like, I mean, I was like I saw it the first time alone, and I think I've said this multiple times. I could not stop just the euphoric like fucking tears streaming down my face in my Uber, and my Uber driver being like I would have wanted to watch it with my Uber driver because he goes, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I just saw a good movie. He goes, that'll happen. And that is the ultimate, like, I wish you could have seen this movie with me, man, because you get it. There are the people that go like, hey man, relax. Like, it's just a movie. And then there's this guy who's like, yeah, that'll happen. You get a good one and it'll put you on your ass for a while. And then I saw it again. I've seen it 3 times. I saw it again with Austin Archer, and he very much had the exact same experience where he walked out of that like, that is something else. The only way to describe it is it's something else.
Was it his first viewing?
Yeah, I made sure. It was like, you haven't seen this yet. We were going to, he was coming to New York from Los Angeles, and I was like, we're going to see Morbius and we're going to shit all over it. We're going to have a whole podcast just like, ironically enjoying it and shitting all over it. And then part of me was like, listen, you've just seen this. You've just seen possibly an all-time favorite film for your life. Don't ruin Austin's time in New York by going to see Morbius. Take him to see this. And we did. And it was like, we were on the train trying not to talk about it because we were coming back to my place to record the podcast. And then I saw it. This is where I got spoiled. I took my mom and my brother for Mother's Day. and very much we walked out of it and they were like, yeah, it was good. And I was like, how is that the only way you're able to think? Like, how is that the only way you're able to
That was a polite way of saying we hate the film.
Either that, or it was just strictly like, I'm walking out of it like, you guys aren't thinking about the themes of this film. Like the child parent relationship. Like my family and I have had like a couple like rough 5-6 years when it comes to communication with each other. So how did nobody go, that's sort of like my life, like out of the 3 of us besides me? It's like, are you guys not thinking that far enough? Like, and then part of me goes like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the majority, the average of people being like, yeah, no, it was a good movie, or I didn't understand this part, I didn't really like this part, but it was good. And then there's people like us walking up being like, I'm not the same person I was 2.5 hours ago. And there's a sense of being spoiled in that idea.
Yeah, this film in particular is a great example of how communities in that kind of space are formed. And I would also argue the gratifications for which you're going to the cinema in a way. So like you and I are getting something very different out of our like cinema, like movie theater experience compared to most people. And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of people don't actually pay attention or to go back to the film's theme, they're not present throughout the film. And even like the moments that you might be able to pick out because you're fully there and you're fully in the moment, they're not paying attention, or they're not even interrogating it. Like they might remember them, like the mom, like, or the, I don't know, I feel like the wife and husband, like there was just a lot. Like you could, there is not a single person that can't relate to a single storyline thread from that story, whether it's your relationship with your dad.
That's how universal it is.
Exactly.
It's amazing how it's able to send out all those threads, whether, I mean, right down to being the kind of person, like very rarely in a movie do you see a character that's like, yeah, you know, he's perceived as weak and a pushover and kind of like a scrambly character, but it turns out like he's an optimist on purpose, because if he isn't, you know, the horrors of reality will fucking get to him, and it'll push him down. And
he's the heart of the film.
He's my favorite performance of the film. His monologue paired with, you know, him trying to stop everybody fighting. I was keeling over in my seat at the idea of being like, you know, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on, but somehow I feel like it's my fault. And of course, there's nobody on the planet cannot relate to at least one of the themes in this film, because it covers so many, and it's not covering them all to be like, you know, purposefully trying to make you connect. It's just, it's fucking life, and it's that universal.
Exactly, that's my point. Like it's not spelling anything out of you, and I feel like the casual like moviegoer wants things spelled out.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So you might ask someone, oh, what did you think of that? And like, oh yeah, I remember it was good, I guess, because they're not going away after the film to do that introspection work with themselves. Because it's one thing to observe and see through a story, and it's another, for me, it takes work. It takes kind of like emotional labor to go out of the film and have that conversation with yourself and be like, how does this come back to me? What did I learn from this? Why am I having why does my stomach hurt all of a sudden? Like how can I think what does this feeling, why do I feel heavy all of a sudden? Like most people are not asking those questions, just like, I'm just gonna go and down a beer, you know, just like which is fair enough. But I feel like we have been trained, like people like us that really love cinema, to just ask those questions, and it's like a
I don't know, it's like a survival thing to be like, all right, I have to tackle these feelings now or else I'll explode. You know what I mean? Like if I walked out of and I was talking about this the other day. I've seen 2 movies in the last 6 months that made me genuinely like change the way I think about life. You know, I saw Flea on the 31st of last year, and I walked out of Flea being like, Jesus, what the fuck are you feeling? You need to think about this right now, because otherwise you'll lose it, and then you'll never think about it again the same way as in this first experience. And then, you know, Flea's also on Hulu, by the way, so please fucking go watch that. It's amazing. And then walking out of, you know, this movie being like, okay, you feel a certain way. You're right. You can feel it in the pit of your stomach. Expose yourself to these feelings and try to articulate why or how. And when you do stuff like that, it's when you find out the most things about yourself. You know what I mean?
Yes, I mean, exactly. This is why this is why I don't go to therapy anymore. I mean, there are other reasons, but I've learned to use cinema as my kind of therapy in a way, where for me, what we say good cinema, like the good kind of cinema, doesn't spell things out for you. Good cinema invites you to ask certain questions for yourself. Like if you want to watch Cinderella on Amazon Prime, you can do that. Like it's gonna spell out the story for you. It's there, and it's doing great from what I'm hearing. I mean,
that's such a great example. I love that so much.
It came up because you remember how it was like the Oscar fan favorite for a second. But it spells out the story just perfect, like every single, like zero room for
That just made me so happy. Like I can tell, I can think the way you think about that. It's just, that's so funny.
I mean, it's like, oh, so explicit in a way. And then you have something else like Everything Everywhere that doesn't spell things out for you, but it poses questions. And this is why like half of my essay is just questions. Like I don't have the answer coming from the film. It's like, what makes us happy? Do our choices matter? Like, do we like, is there such thing as free will? Like there's just so many questions, and I don't have the answer right now, but they're giving me the tools that I need in life to go now, what's the next film that will make me a much more emotionally informed person?
That's what it
and
is.
I can learn to interpret the next film better.
That's exactly what it is. It's like weightlifting. You're training yourself for the next, to be able to withstand the next amount of the next, blow. A big movie that Everything Everywhere helped with was when I saw the You Won't Be Alone. I walked into that because I saw the trailer for that when I went to see the Worst Person in the World. And I was like, okay, well, I have to see that movie. I love folklore and stuff like that. And then I walk into that movie and you find out that it's less of a folklore movie and it's more of another universal movie that somehow tackles all these different veins of life that forces you to think about your existence and your point in space and relationships and all that stuff. And that is very much like, would I have gone in to see this movie and have analyzed my thoughts the way I did if I hadn't seen this other movie? And it's very much like one impacts the other.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I feel like I'm just letting it all sit in now.
Yeah.
The one, I mean, we could talk about that film for ages, but the one thing that I do want to say for anyone that may be listening, I feel like by now you know what the film is about.
Yeah.
But I actually had at least 2 people ask me, and I'm not joking, they asked me if they had to see the other Marvel films to see Everything Everywhere. Which, to be fair, that it's not their, I mean,
it's not their fault. It isn't.
It's not their fault.
They've been trained.
One timing, with Doctor Strange, really interesting to say the least. Secondly, because of this whole like multiverse overload, and been using that word to describe the film, that actually feel like it's not even the purpose of the story, but we've been using it because it sells, right?
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people just be like, oh, I would love to watch it, but I haven't seen Doctor Strange. Like they're not.
That's
Wait,
so funny.
it's an indie film. It has nothing to do with Black Widow. Like, forget about it. It has nothing to do with Black Widow. There is a certain Black Widow in that film, but it has nothing to do with Scarlett Johansson. So
that's so funny.
That speaks to
I saw a review that said, I haven't seen the movie, but it's really not cool for them to steal the multiverse concept from from Marvel. And I'm like,
really?
You shouldn't be allowed access to share your fucking opinion. It's fucking ridiculous. I don't know. That's so.
Do you have another multiverse film that you really like?
I mean, that's another thing. It's like the best multiverse movies are Spider-Verse and this right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then you have Doctor Strange trying to nudge its way through, and it's like, hey, it turns out it's not a multiverse movie. It's a Sam Raimi movie, and appreciate it for what it is, but don't put it in the ranks of this and Spider-Verse, right? Makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, it's so confusing, isn't it? In a way.
Your face just now is going to be the cover of the podcast.
But you can tell how you can get confused as someone who's not in the know, like every single day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a mess.
And someone who's been told like, oh, you're going to see Endgame. Well, you have to see the last 21 movies before that.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally that. It's fucking Pavlov's dog. You're being trained to, get all the issues, get all the comic book issues before you go to the giant climactic event, which is fine. That's a great, cool, interesting way to tell a story, but also it excludes a lot of fucking people. And then you have people asking questions like, do I need to see a Marvel movie before this movie? Which is so fucking crazy.
It's insane. The one film that I did want to call out as a recommendation, I want to do. Actually, I did ages ago, but I want to go back to it and revisit it. The An old multiverse film in a way, and it's multiverse not because it's a Doctor Strange kind of crazy sort of film, but like from a scale point of view, but it explores different choices and
Yeah.
I would say the potential of life in a way, like
Yeah.
how does your life change based on what you choose. Is speaking of Morbius, Mr. Nobody with Jared Leto and Diane Kruger.
Yeah.
It's a 2009 film. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's I would say no, like it's so hard to share because to this date I would say like it's a top 10 film of mine, but
Really?
yeah, but I'm having a hard time rewatching it. But I feel like I need to. I feel like Everything Everywhere gave me the push to actually do it again because it was so hard to watch. Because when I did, I feel like I've made some, I don't know, just like everyone, I guess, choices in life that perhaps I regretted, right? So it was very hard for me to rewatch at the time, but I do want to do it now. So the if I remember correctly, the film starts with, a boy standing on a station platform as the train is about to leave. And then he's asking, there is a choice that's presented to him. Like, should he go with his mother or stay with his father? Right. And then infinite possibilities arise from the decision he makes. And as long as he doesn't choose, anything is possible.
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi fantasy film, I guess. And it's just so well done. I don't think it did well in the box office at the time. It was I think to this day, it's one of these cult films. But I think, on IMDb has something like 7.8, 8.2. I don't remember the director. I could look it up. I don't know him. I can't even pronounce his name. Director and writer. But yeah, I do recommend.
I'll check it out.
I think if you like that,
Mr. Nobody starring Jared Leto and Dan Kruger.
Yeah.
Huh. I've heard of it. And it's funny, people don't realize how long Jared Leto's been kind of working as an actor. You know what I mean? And whatever you want to call him, like whether he does the method acting and I'm so happy to see the conversation now surrounding method acting and how who was it that said like, hey, why is it all? I think it was Pattinson. Everyone who's method acting is always playing an asshole. Huh? Isn't that interesting? You can't. No one's method acting. Being like a kind person. No one's like, he was really kind on set, just like how he was in the film. That doesn't really happen. But yeah, I think that it's funny to think about. When people think about Jared Leto now, all they hear is Morbius.
I mean, he's made a lot of questionable choices for sure. I mean, I have followed his career. Back in the day, he used to be much more selective with his roles.
Yeah.
When you think of like Fight Club and Requiem for a Dream and Mr. Nobody and what was that film with Nicolas Cage? It was really good. War of Worlds.
Man of War.
Something like that. But it was a good film. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Lost Highway. Like he's made some kind of gems in a way that haven't done or didn't do very well. But that was the nature of those films that were indie films.
Yeah.
And then, after he got that Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club, he was incredible. He just took slowly he started taking a very different path, which I don't think is unusual for someone who takes an Oscar, but then he did like the joke, he did like the Joker and Smash Bros. I mean, that was another podcast episode of his own for Jared's Joker. House of Gucci. I mean, what can you say about this one? I mean,
okay, I'm gonna die on this hill. He was the best fucking thing about House of Gucci. House of Gucci should have been more like Jared Leto.
he
The rest
answered
of
the
the
brief.
movie,
He answered the brief. That's what I'm gonna say.
that's what that movie should have been.
Count.
Ridley Scott tried to make this like weirdly like kind of slow and like holding his composure in this movie. The entire movie should have been as ridiculous and as silly and as flamboyant as Paolo Gucci in that movie. The best part of that movie, the best 3 seconds, is that cut from Paolo finding the letter and screaming and then going to the honking and then telling them not to confuse chocolate and shit. It's the best part of the movie. The entire movie should have been like that. And you have Lady Gaga and Adam Driver and Al Pacino and all those other guys. It's like, guys, have a fucking good time. You know what I mean? You're not making like, this is like telling Martin Scorsese when he's making The Wolf of Wall Street, be like, Scorsese, turn it down a little bit. You know what I mean? Relax a little. It's like, no, that's as ridiculous and as extravagant as it should have been. So should House of Gucci. I will die on this hill.
It is such a poorly directed film.
It's so disappointing because in the same year, The Last Duel came out, and it's one of the best films of last year.
But for me, that film was a big learning, and that, I mean, I feel like the story and the script called for a different director. And I mean, you can make the argument, oh, if you're a good director, you can make any film. But I don't think that's the case.
No.
Like I don't know. I don't think you can take someone like Michael Bay, who's done the absolute worst, and then he's done some. I would say he's done a couple of good films, and have him direct Tenet.
Yeah.
Because he'll probably come out of this film like wanting to vomit 5x because he wouldn't know what to make of that. I mean, that's a different kind of universe, but he wouldn't know what to make of that. For me, I mean, really, there's nothing in Scott's career that indicates he knows anything about the fashion industry, right? And nothing knows, like, I'm not saying directors need to know that.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be in the atmosphere.
Right, yeah. But for me, when I watched that film, I was like, I came out of it thinking, fuck me, Tom Ford should have directed that film. Imagine
that's what everybody said. Yeah, after that, I mean, you also heard
what this guy would have done with that film.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Never done.
You know what it reminds me of? It makes me think of It makes me think of, this is the second time in the last 2 months that I've talked about Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's too many times. It's literally that. I don't remember who directed Bohemian Rhapsody. I know that there are several issues with whoever was, directing that movie.
Was it the very problematic guy?
Probably. I don't know. Probably.
From X-Men? No?
Was it? I can think of like 3 problematic guys from X-Men. There's Bryan Singer, there's Brett Ratner, and there's...
Is it Bryan Singer?
Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, Bryan Singer. Yeah, Dexter. Yeah, Bryan Singer.
There you go. He should not be directing a biopic on Freddie Mercury and Queen. Like, he should not have. Should have gone to somebody else. Should have gone. I mean, the perfect example is Dexter Fletcher with again, I'm bringing up Rocket Man. Rocket Man is everything that a biopic about a gay rock star in the 70s and 60s should be about. You know what I mean? It's intense, and it doesn't shy away from the fucking ugly truths of a lot of it. And it doesn't, it has a cohesive like sense of, at the end of Rocket Man, when the story isn't like, oh, the band's back together and they had a good time. The story of Rocket Man is like, Elton is learning to love himself. He hugs his younger self, and his younger self says like, why don't you love me? And like, that's the emotional toil of the movie. Not, will Queen break up even though none of this is fucking history? You know what I mean? That's a perfect example, actually. It's just messy, and it no business doing that. Ridley Scott is 80, right? Take a break.
I want 80. Yeah, 80.
Take a couple seconds. You don't have to release 2 movies and 2 shows a fucking year. You can release The Last Duel and sit back and let people, as much as everyone shat on that movie. I saw a review that said, I saw a review like a week ago saying, I finally saw The Last Duel, and I'm so upset at the discourse surrounding the movie because I loved it. And they said they found it surprisingly feminist. And I think that's a big issue with the film. It was a man directing a movie about, which is, Alex Garland is getting this shit right now for directing men, and the idea of being like
assault as well, men.
Yeah, I mean it covers themes of sexual assault and domestic abuse and suicide and all that, and it's very much like it's the question people are posing. The questions like, oh, should a man be directing a movie about what men do to women? And it's like, I think that question is super restricting. It's so much more complicated than that. It's like when people, I don't know, but that happens a lot now, especially people saying like, "Oh, Robert Eggers has directed 3 movies about all white people. He must be a white supremacist." And that was going around for The Northman. The Twitter threads of being like, "Yeah, it's Vikings. That's some white supremacist, lore." And it's like, guys, it's so much somehow more and less complicated than that. You know what I mean? And it's a whole problem, and we talked about this a while ago, whole problem with the discourse surrounding talking about movies these days. But yeah.
Who would you have direct House of Gucci
other than Tom Ford?
Because you mentioned Jared, as in like maybe everyone should have risen to that level of camp. Like what kind of director do you think could bring that kind of Taika?
No, he's a very specific kind of absurdist camp. It has to be someone more unhinged, because as unhinged and absurdist as Taika Waititi's movies are, they're also very close and internal. Jojo Rabbit is very much an internal movie, I think. That's interesting. I think of like the editing of the movie, the way it is edited when it is good is very, to me, hilariously Sam Raimi to me. I think it's very like if Sam Raimi pulled out all the stops and was as campy and ridiculous as he is while tackling like extravagance and glamour and the popularity of Gucci, and have it be as ridiculous as it is, and then have every performance be dialed up to 11 like Leto in that movie. I think that would have been, I don't think it would have been maybe a better movie. I think it would have been received a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Interesting. Very, I really, Huh.
Yeah.
Think about it. Because when it comes to the film, I agree with you. I don't think Scott was the right director, but I'm also thinking the fucking script was a slog.
Yeah.
Like it was just like the way the story was told, it was just bad. Like I'm just thinking, even if you could, and I'm not saying you're making a better film, but you're making a much more cohesive and even accessible film by potentially doing like a much more conventional, traditional court drama. Because you remember how like the whole courtroom, like the murder doesn't happen until like 15 minutes, like the last 15 minutes in a way. And you can see how everyone, like everything is so chaotic, like trying to wrap up the film where there's like 500 different things happen at once. Trying to wrap up so many different storylines. For me, it would be much more interesting to just start with a courtroom and then have every single one of them show up as witnesses in a way and tell their version. So like kind of a last duel in a way.
Yeah.
Right. So you could tell their version, because then you could unfold the film much more differently. And then by doing the flashbacks, the way people remember them, you could tell 5 different films, because much like how Paula would remember the past compared to Patricia, for example. It would be like much
and that's
more.
where you get okay, so there we go. We are going to remake House of Gucci, directed by Sam Raimi, written by Aaron Sorkin, and everybody else up to dialed up to 11 like Leto, and then you have at least an enjoyable House of Gucci movie.
That would be so much fun, because the casting I think was on point. The casting
I mean, Lady Gaga's great, Adam Driver's great, even Pacino when he's there and he's being so Pacino, but also kind of being a just like more of a prick than Al Pacino regularly is. Really good. Speaking
of Pacino, like it's in my next like marathon, like yeah, my next marathon is gonna be his filmography from start to finish, because I haven't.
Oh, that's a good.
I've seen a lot of his films, but I always loved him. I also
What's your favorite film of Pacino's?
Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
That's
there we go.
The
Dog Day. Yeah, it's the one.
Just such a good film. But yeah, I feel like, I'm sure I've watched the most popular ones, but I'm also sure I've missed quite a few. I know he has made a few questionable choices in his career too. Like similar to Robert De Niro, was like at some point just gave up and they were like, does he pay? Does he pay well? Then I'm just gonna show up. I think they're both were a bit like that for a while, but yeah, I don't know. It was
that's an interesting idea
to do.
At the Alamo Draft House near me, they're doing a run through of all of John Carpenter's films, which I think is a really, I'm excited for. I'm gonna try and see if I can go to that. Just because he's got such a wide array of like sci-fi and horror and all that kind of stuff, and it's like some of the most classic that we can think of today when it comes to sci-fi and horror. But that's actually a good idea too, to devote a section of time to one filmography. I think it's pretty interesting. We could talk about that more too.
Yeah, and it's also something to think about, because usually when usually when someone does a marathon on someone, they usually go with directors, which I feel like does serve a purpose, especially when you want to kind of see someone's evolution from like their debut to like their latest film.
Yeah.
But I also feel like you get a lot of value when you go down an actor's career, because you can see, one, how they evolve, two, how the choices they make evolve, and three, how like retrospectively, how has that affected their performance somewhere down the lines. It's a very different journey compared to like doing like a Nolan back to back.
We have to do that with Pacino's a great actor to do that with, because you go from him actually playing different characters to now him playing Pacino. Another interesting actor to do that with, Cage. That's
okay. I'm gonna send you. I have a story highlight. I don't know if you probably don't remember. So during the pandemic, just like most people, I was very bored.
Yeah.
I don't remember the number, but I watched more than 20 of his films, and I'm talking like his worst. I'm not talking about adaptation. I'm talking about
that's like great.
Straight to. I need to find
the bill makers, the movies he used to pay his bills.
Yeah, exactly. It was, let's just say, it was very hard to find them, but a lot of them are on YouTube or Vimeo. Yeah. But I remember just doing like a Cage marathon, literally, and just putting funny. Out. I mean, I didn't put out proper reviews, but like a paragraph, like reaction. It was just the funniest thing ever.
Did you see Massive Talent?
Not yet. And I haven't even seen The Northman again, which is ridiculous. Like, who am I? How am I a cinephile? I know.
Holy shit, you haven't seen it? Is it released over there yet or no?
Yeah, both of them are. But they came out when the podcast launched, and I feel like
no. I get it.
It was bad timing, but
dude, prepare for a fucking epic like poem of a movie. The Northman is
double bill with them both.
You know what's funny? I almost did back to back Northman and Nick Cage. I watched Northman on Thursday and Nick Cage on Friday. But holy, two films about like beings, you know what I mean? Like the Northman is so fucking good. It's a filmmaking feat when it comes, especially for Robert Eggers. And then Nick, the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is the ultimate buddy movie. Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal are the highlight.
You're the best. Like, I'm dying to see it.
So good. And there's a great there's a famous Nick Cage interview from when he was like 23 or something, or 22. And there's a young version of him in the trailer where he's going like he's screaming, "I'm Nick Forget," and then there's that version of him that has like the hair and he's kind of it's supposed to be like in his head, in Nick Cage's head all the time is that young version of him, and it's so.
Cute.
I want to see it again now just because that the talking about it excites me. But yeah, no, that's another one where it's like so good.
Is it out on digital yet over there?
I think June 1st.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to see because I my priority is catching the Northman on the big screen.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to watch that at home.
No. That's one to watch in a fucking. That is like you're watching a play when you watch that.
Would you say is your favorite Eggers film so far?
Yeah, probably. Which is very fucking rare because I think that like I walked into Alex Garland's Men and I walked out of it going, it's not my favorite of his, but I can see it being, of his three. I think it's probably second or yeah, it's probably second. I think Annihilation, Men, and I still want to see it again just to kind of like finalize my thoughts on it, and then Ex Machina, and then in Eggers' case, it's very much, The Northman, and then The Lighthouse, and in reverse order, yeah, Northman, Lighthouse, and The Witch. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And everyone has been telling me about a great Nicole Kidman monologue, apparently.
Oh, dude.
Yes? Okay.
She's
Cool.
What's funny is like there's always jokes about Nicole Kidman, especially now with the AMC commercial of hers where she walked in and someone said her AMC commercial played before Morbius, and it's just that's the funniest thing in the world is you have Nicole Kidman being like, this is the place and the lights dim and then it's just fucking Jared Leto as a or there's that clip of Matt Smith, or I forgot his name, one of the Doctor Who's, and he's doing a dance montage and he's a vampire too, and he's like flexing and you're seeing the fucking face, and
I love that scene. That scene was amazing.
I talked about that too. I put that out on Twitter. The fact that money and time and effort went into the making of that alone makes it fucking worth it. It's so good because of how insanely ridiculous it is. But no, there's something so funny about that to me. I said this the other day. When they told me about this and they were like, yeah, the idea that the Nicole Kidman ad leads into a movie like Morbius, which is so not the kind of movie she's fucking talking about. Oh, that's great. That's so fucking good.
You mean the #1 film on Apple TV, on the Apple TV app?
Yeah. I love it. For the fucking joke, make this the most successful fucking movie ever. I don't care how you feel about it. I want it to get all the fucking accolades because the joke is worth it, and that's it.
The only other reason I kind of want to see it make its money back is because it was actually pushed back so many times, and I feel like having the
oh my god, imagine
worked on that film, finally seeing the fucking output of the work out there must be such a relief for them. Like, I no longer have to hide.
Yeah, that's so fucking funny. Oh my god.
It wasn't worth it. I mean, yeah.
Bitch, that's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. I was saying on Twitter the other day, like the last 6 months of movies have been fucking amazing. This first half of 2022 has delivered some of the best movies to me, like some of my favorite movies of the last fucking 10 years, and with Everything Everywhere All at Once, just to bring it back to center the podcast again. That's confidently. I said this when I first saw it. I said I was unsure, and then I saw it 2 more times, and I'm so confident it's an all-time favorite. It's in like the top 10. I don't know what it squeezed out yet. I have to actually write shit down, but it is an all-time fucking favorite. And if you haven't seen it yet, you really need to do yourself the favor and go and support this fucking amazing movie.
retweet to what you just said.
Yeah. Where can everybody find you, Sophie?
If you want to follow me on Instagram, just go to That Final Scene. And yeah, if you want to check out our new podcast, then go to thatfinalscene.com and subscribe to wherever you're listening.
All right. If you guys want to follow this podcast, you can go to YouTube, my YouTube Comedian of Cinema, or you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcast. How's it going to end? Or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you randomly came across this and you listen to an hour and a half of two friends talking about movies, you can follow me on Instagram at Comedian of Cinema. And I'll see you guys next week.